Welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And we start with a big breaking news development out of Massachusetts, where FBI agents have arrested a Massachusetts National Guardsman in their investigation into leaked classified documents that have rocked the Pentagon. The leaked top secret intel included movements of major political leaders, military forces, battlefield conditions in places like Ukraine, and much more. Here with the very latest, veteran U.S. Naval Intel officer and human rights editor Jack Posobiec. Jack, thank you so much for being on the program with us. This is a big breaking news story, and obviously with your background in intel, what are you thinking and feeling about this? What's the latest? What do we know about this suspect?
Well, so what's really interesting about this situation, Kimberly, and thank you so much for having me on as well, is that I've seen a lot of people asking this question out there saying, how could a 21-year-old National Guardsman have access to documents at this level? I've seen people saying, well, his rank wasn't that high. How could he have access? Look, let me walk people through the process that if you are an intelligence analyst, so I was an intelligence officer at one point, I was an intel director of a unit on a joint expeditionary for a joint expeditionary command, I should say, that if it doesn't matter your rank your rank doesn't determine access, your position determines your access. So if you were a junior analyst and you were working for me in the shop, and if you were an intel analyst, then yeah, you would have access to this. This is the joint staff brief that's delivered to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and his team every single morning at the Pentagon. So this is Milley's brief that you're looking at, essentially. It's usually about 100 pages, sometimes 150. It's made in PowerPoint slides. And the classifications do go up to the TSSCI level, but it wouldn't necessarily include those special access projects, which were, by the way, found on Hillary Clinton's server. So it would include just up to that level, but not beyond that, to ensure widest access. If you wanted more access to those briefings, of course, you would need to have those special caveats, those compartmented clearances. So the fact that he had this age, the fact that he had that rank, it doesn't surprise me at all. This is one of the most widely read briefings. I was personally reading this briefing at 25 years old every single morning, as well as products from the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, take your pick, all the three-letter agencies and NGO, et cetera, et cetera. So it is part of your daily media consumption when you're in the intelligence community. What's I think shocking to so many people, of course, is that you typically don't see one of these situations outside of necessarily a Chelsea Manning or a Reality Winner or Edward Snowden, where you see this many of these documents leaked all at one time. But I do also think it's very interesting from the perspective, and I'll put on my human events hat here, because it's very interesting to me to see that all of these documents come out and suddenly the media stops talking about the contents of the documents and the fact that it did expose that the Biden administration has been lying to us about the conduct of the war in Ukraine, about the fact that there are U.S. Special Forces troops on the ground in Ukraine. That's confirmed in these documents. And specifically what the U.S. assessments are regarding not only the way the war is going, but even Zelensky and his presidency and his administration, that's completely at odds with what we're told by Kirby every day in the briefing room, right, what we're told by Biden, what we're told by Milley. And yet now we can see their side of the documents. They know that they've been lying to us the entire time. So suddenly, after all their lies are exposed, the media doesn't care about the content of the documents. They just want to focus on the person who exposed it.
It's unbelievable because they're so singularly focused on that, but that is such a small part of this. The bigger problem is the contents, what they were hiding. They were not transparent, what they knew ahead of time, and instead now we're involved in this whole thing with funding the Ukraine war, essentially. But okay, so in terms of like the nature of how serious do you think it is in terms of what transpired here?
Well, so in any leak, what's conducted is a post-leak analysis on the threat to U.S. national security. So the threat, unfortunately, can be real if you are someone who is operating behind Russian lines, behind Ukrainian lines, Belarus, for example. Some of China, I don't think was necessarily implicated in this, but I'm just saying, for instance, that the sources and methods that if you do have particular sources of information, this is one of the reasons that you'd have those caveats. If that were exposed, then you could put a person at risk. I didn't see any documents necessarily here that would point to anyone's name or anything like that. But what I do see, though, is the fact that so many countries that are U.S. allies, like Ukraine in this instance, are now finding out that, guess what? The U.S. is looking over your shoulder a little bit there Zelensky, because it turns out that maybe we aren't exactly as trusting as we thought, or the Biden administration isn't as trusting and doesn't exactly have the confidence. So suddenly that throws into question why Macron is going over with Xi Jinping right now, why all these countries are going over and saying they don't want to deal with the U.S. anymore. They're dumping the U.S. dollar. It totally lines up. Because they're sick of dealing with the U.S. They're sick of being spied on. They're sick of being told what to do. And even Janet Yellen came out just the other day and said the number one thing that we could do for the stability of the world economy is to end the war. That's Janet Yellen. That's the Secretary of Treasury saying that. She said that the stability could be achieved if we end this war and we stop this spending right now. Well, now it turns out that in these documents, they've been lying to us about the conduct of the war, and it is a quagmire. It is something with no foreseeable end in sight. So are we just going to keep throwing more money on it? Are we going to keep throwing more lives at it? Are we keep going to allow the people to be caught up in the middle? Or are we going to get to the point where we actually talk about peace? And it's a simple question. But no, they don't want us to focus on any of that stuff, Kim. They want us to focus on this 21-year-old kid who leaked documents, who exposed the lies, who actually brought the truth to the American people.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think, this is quite a big story because it really does, touch out so many different things, politics, the financial markets, geopolitical stability. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so we're fascinated, and nobody better to have on the program to discuss it than you. So Jack Posobiec, you can follow him on Twitter, Truth Social, Instagram, Facebook, and at Human Events.
Human Events Daily. That's right. We're there. Thank you. God bless. Congrats on the new show. By the way, you're competing so hard with us in the numbers. It just means we have to fight 10 times harder.
All right. Hey, look, we got the best people on our team, right? We got fighters.
Only the best.
You're the best. Okay. God bless. All the best, Jack. Thank you. So to get to the latest updates, like breaking news that we can bring you like this, unfiltered, uncensored, and so much more, I want to make sure and ask you, if you like these videos, this news, this information, this show, if you can subscribe to the channel at Kimberly Guilfoyle and turn on notifications and hit the like button on this episode so it'll keep it up at the top so that we can make sure that a lot of people get the truth out there. Download that Rumble app on your phone. Tell all your friends, tell your grandma, tell your aunt and uncle so they know exactly where to find us. And also, coming up, we sit down with the woman behind Libs of TikTok. That's right. And she reveals everything you want to know, how it all started, how she finds all of these bizarre videos that are super amazing, and even the threats she continues to face up to this day. And then we've also got live here senior Trump advisor Lynne Patton. She'll also join me on set and give us an inside look at the 2024 campaign, the election, social media, and how the campaign can reach out to even more supporters and voters. That is just coming up ahead. But we lead off today with more major developments surrounding the abuse of power of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Because in his latest feckless stunt, Bragg is now filing a lawsuit against House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, claiming that Jordan's attempts to seek testimony and transparency from Bragg over his sham indictment against the president is some sort of campaign of intimidation, okay? In fact, Bragg wants a federal judge to invalidate subpoenas that Jordan issued as part of a larger investigation into the Trump case. Now, in response, Jordan tweeted, quote, "First they indict a president for no crime. Then they sue to block congressional oversight when we ask questions about the federal funds they say they used to do it." Of course, this is all just Bragg's latest effort amid and to avoid any accountability for his bogus case against the 45th president and to avoid having to answer real questions about what went on inside his office that brought this zombie non-crime back from the dead. Okay, folks? And next week, the committee will hold a hearing on the crime ravaging New York City, inviting victims of violent crimes to share their stories and to put Bragg's misplaced priorities in the spotlight on full display. And meanwhile, we're also learning more about a disturbing pattern inside the Manhattan DA's office of enlisting far left political operatives. Because according to a new report from the Federalist, a New York City law firm with strong ties to Democrats lent the Manhattan DA's office 3 far-left lawyers since he took office to solely work on matters surrounding and targeting Donald Trump. So it's as obvious as ever, it's in plain sight, that the Manhattan DA has decided to destroy the credibility of his office, all to try and curry favor with the Democratic Party. Here's President Trump on Tuesday night slamming this continued attack on our justice system. Take a look.
I didn't know this was happening, but the poll numbers have gone through the roof. The people get it. And the other ones are hoaxes also. You know, the box hoax. Look at Biden. He's got 1,850 boxes. And, you know, that's a hoax. And then the one in Atlanta where I had a perfect phone call. This is all weaponization. They're weaponizing our justice system, Tucker. And they think if they go and give you a subpoena, you know, I guess I'm very well known and people understand it and they get it. And maybe I have a bigger platform so I can explain it. But if you're somebody, a Republican, let's say, running for office and you get a subpoena, you might as well resign because you're not going to be able to survive it. And the voters aren't going to handle it. The voters aren't going to take it. What they're doing is weaponizing the system, and there's never been anything like it.
And President Trump is taking even more action against the nonstop smears thrown in his direction and suing disgraced former attorney Michael Cohen for an eye-popping $500 million, alleging a breach of his attorney-client relationship, unjust enrichment, ignoring cease and desist orders, and much more. He's a fighter. Of course, Cohen is the same convicted felon who Bragg is relying on to try and make his imaginary case. But of course, there's more and more signs that this pathetic political stunt is already backfiring, as a new Morning Consult poll shows that Donald Trump has opened up a whopping 33-point lead over Governor Ron DeSantis, the widest lead since Morning Consult started tracking the primary back in December. And a recent poll from YouGov shows Trump leading Joe Biden, who, by the way, is struggling as much as ever, while he continues to dodge the press and avoids answering even the simplest of questions. Here's Biden's staff in Ireland this week forcing the press out of the room. Take a look.
Slowly. We're walking out this way. We're walking out this way. Walking out this way. We're walking out. We're walking out. Listen. We're walking out this way. Press. Press. We're moving. We're moving.
Thank y'all so much.
Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you.
And as bad as Biden's nonstop blunders are, the policy is that much worse, a disaster, because the Biden administration announced Wednesday even more crippling regulations to crack down on gas-powered cars. It's a war on gas-powered cars. The regulation will require automakers to reduce 56% of greenhouse gas emissions in 2032 vehicles compared to 2026 models. Translation, folks, make manufacturers go all in on electric and effectively phase out gas-powered vehicles. They love this stuff in California too, if you know what I mean. So ban the car that you drive to work, ban the stove you use to feed your family, and do anything and everything to control every aspect of your life. That's now the Democratic agenda. It's why 2024 is so crucially important. And building winning strategies to defeat the Democratic machine is more vital than ever. On the ground, online, and everywhere in between. And we couldn't have a better guest to explain. She is a senior advisor to President Trump. She knows the ins and outs of building winning coalitions, campaigns, digital strategy, and so much more. What a pleasure to have joining us in studio today, Lynne Patton. Lynne, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Kim. Great to be here.
All right. So bottom line, we'll have you scooch in here
Yes,
a little bit, sweetheart.
of course.
Let the folks see you. So you see what's happening here, and you've been here in studio for the show, what's going on with the Biden administration. There's so much really to run on, okay? Now, President Trump had his base of support, which was very strong and obviously did incredibly well in the last election. But I know, you know, as senior advisor, you guys are trying, and you're heading up coalitions as well to try to reach out to more voters, new voters, et cetera, to bring them into the fold. You've got all these issues to work with, which relate to all Americans,
Absolutely.
regardless of partisan politics. Everyone should care about being able to drive and buy the car they want. Everyone should care about being able to have jobs and actually good money, not having taxes wasted. We see all this stuff that's going on right now. Tell us how you see it and what you think we can do to reach out and connect to more people.
Well, there's always room to grow, right? And obviously, this campaign is already light years ahead of the one in 2016, the one in 2020. There have been numerous articles about how we're building a faster ground game. President Trump has announced leadership teams in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, in Iowa, in Ohio, and even in Texas. And those groups are already on the ground building out a tremendous grassroots effort. And I would encourage everybody watching to text JOIN, JOIN, to 88022 to get involved, to receive the talkers that our campaign is pushing out, to receive the policy proposals that President Trump continues to sort of resurrect and
all
improve
the new
upon.
policy videos. People
That's
really
right.
like those.
Those policy videos. And also, I encourage people to almost have their own mini MAGA parties in your homes where
A little like MAGA get-together.
Yes, where you can serve, whatever, have these parties where you educate yourself with the talkers that we're pushing out. And, knowledge is power. It's about telling people, being plugged in. And I think one of the greatest things that came from the Donald Trump presidency in 2016 is that more Americans now more than ever are paying attention. They're paying attention to politics. They're paying attention to what's happening in their children's schools. They're paying attention to what's, what it costs at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
And they're not happy,
Can't have a gas stove, can't have eggs.
That's right.
Yeah, we had a diaper crisis. It's out of control. You never thought you'd see something like
Never
that.
thought you'd see something like this. And I keep running through my head this one expression that the left continuously used when this administration was sworn in, and that was, the adults are back in charge. Well, now we're on the brink of World War III. We have the highest inflation in American history. We have the most porous southern border. Violent crime and murder is skyrocketing. If this is the adults in charge, I would almost say bring back the asylum. And one of the things that I think most of your viewers and the American people understand is that whether you believe Trump won or not, the last 2 years without him have been disastrous, and the American people want him back.
Well, it's really true because you see the juxtaposition. What it was like when President Trump was in. We had, incredible, peace through, strength. We were respected on the world stage. We had a booming economy. We had infrastructure, manufacturing. Not penalizing and overtaxing, Americans. We know he can do the job because he did it before. And that's the bottom line. And like you said, he did. He got, a record 75+ million votes, which is more than any other incumbent running for office. You've never had someone get that many votes and not win.
No.
So it's, that's why American people were asking what's going on. And it's okay in this country to ask what's going on.
And in fact, on Tucker Carlson the other night, he said he was told he could actually get 15 million votes less than he did and still win statistically. Right. And he is the only presidential candidate in this race on either side of the aisle who can genuinely say, been there, done that.
Oh, absolutely. And everyone should want to have, one legal, valid vote counted and cast. That's it. Amen. That's not something that's, one side or the other. That should be a bipartisan issue. We should care about election integrity. Now, that being said, Lynne, I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too. People say, well, wait a second. What's going to be different this time? How can he win and prevail? If he didn't last time, what's the victory path? How can we do it? People asking about ballot harvesting in those states that actually authorize it where it's legal. What are the thoughts right now on that?
Well, I've seen you talk about it. I've seen your fiance, Don Jr., talk about it. Until we're back in charge, you really have to beat them at their own game. You have to be on the same playing field. As horrible as it sounds, they are not going to stop cheating. This is something they've been doing for decades. They are masters at it. And, you've seen President Trump start to recognize that and start to actually push that messaging. If there is ballot harvesting, it's something we need to start engaging in. If there's early voting, go when you can vote. You don't have to necessarily wait day of, because as we saw in Arizona, they're sabotaging the machines on that day. And, for the most part, our party, the Republicans, we work for a living. We can't go back and forth to the polling center 6 times in one day,
Right.
like maybe some other parties can. So, that one time, that one break that voter is taking, and then to have the machines down, it's detrimental, and quite frankly, it's election interference.
And you've seen this. We had that happen, in Georgia, where they shut it down. Oh, the pipe burst, and no one could figure out what was going on there, when it was going to open back up. We saw it with Kerry Lake's race, and Blake Masters, in Arizona with Maricopa County. And by the way, we will have Kerry Lake live here on Monday on this show as a guest in studio to talk more about that. But, it's a genuine and fair question.
It is.
How are we going to produce, a different result? Part of it is reaching out, making a big tent to be able to get, whether independents, libertarians, et cetera, or, Reagan Democrats.
And it's a question I get from our donors all the time, which is, I want to support Donald Trump again. I want to give him money, but what is the point if they're just going to steal this election again
and cheat or whatever?
Correct. And while I would love to get into details, we do have on the campaign a department, a division, several lawyers who are committed to doing this and resolving this issue 24/7. Obviously, working closely with America First Policy Institute. Obviously, working closely with Stephen Miller's group as well.
Which is explain that for a second. It's the legal challenges to some of these
things. Yes. Stephen Miller, who obviously was a former aide to the president, has opened up what I describe as basically the counter to the ACLU, making sure it's a legal entity, making sure that we bring these challenges at the local, state, legislative level. That is where a lot of these rules were changed in the era of COVID.
And he's getting a lot of wins.
A lot of wins. And by the way, many of the things that we challenged and believed were, obviously illegal back in 2020, we now know judges in Supreme Courts in Pennsylvania, Supreme Courts in Wisconsin have decided that we were accurate and correct. But of course, the spilled milk is already there, but we need to make sure.
Right. But it's important to fight those battles.
It
you
is.
bring up a good point because it validates what so many people are thinking and what they're frustrated about.
That's right.
And it also highlights, and we find out what we need to be able to do it differently next time. I think it's incredibly important, the point you made about the ground game and having people on the ground, early in the state, having a robust setup there and infrastructure so that they can do it, including a legal infrastructure in place, rapid response, ready to file any claims in case there is any kind of misdeeds, fraud or transgressions.
And 29 states already have banned Zuckerbucks, which was the private sort of influx of this outside money, large sums of money to basically erect, voter drop boxes, private sector drop boxes that had no chain of custody, that obviously were ripe with, obviously corruption. And that was obviously a way that they were able to cheat legally.
Okay, so here's another thing I want to shift because so much is going on in social media, and we know the left can't meme. But Lynne Patton can, and Don Jr. can. But a lot of conservatives feel like they're constantly on, the defense. Like they had the one guy, they put him in jail because he did a meme. It's like out of control. With the media,
which we talked about last time.
Absolutely, and on locals and stuff, and media, big tech, stacking the deck against them. How do we kind of even the playing field? I mean, you're very active and you're high profile on social media, so it's something that you're on and very good at, every single day, fighting back, because you've been with the president since when?
2008. First as a personal assistant with his family, and obviously running the Eric Trump Foundation, and then going to D.C. with him and working for Secretary Ben Carson. Now as a part of Save America, and now obviously it's an honor of a lifetime to be a part of the campaign. But I get it, it's frustrating. Nobody knows more about tech censorship and social media censorship than Donald Trump. Nobody knows more about it than you and the Trump family. Myself, so many influencers out there. I think we're all currently still suppressed to this day. And even though
all the platforms, quite frankly.
Across all the platforms. And even though Elon Musk basically exposed and revealed what we've known all along, is that the real collusion was between the Democrat Party and tech, leadership. But at the end of the day, You cannot stay quiet. You cannot stop posting. You cannot stop fighting. Whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram.
Truth Social.
Truth Social, obviously, we encourage you to join. Getter. Just be out there, be a voice, continue to obviously expose what we know. And now, the feds are flagging words and phrases like based and red pill. It's just, when I was growing up.
Explain what because this is so cute. All right, because I had to
FBI
learn
actually
this. Whenever
stopped
I
crying.
see something and I go, hey, Lynn, by the way, what does this mean? Okay, explain what based, which I now know what that is, but it was.
Base is like super supporter, ultra MAGA, the whole 9 yards. And we love those phrases because it almost reminds us of when they called us deplorables.
Right.
It emboldened us, it strengthened us, and it like sort of, amalgamated our resolve to win. And so.
What about red pill?
Red pill. Everybody out there should take the red pill. But if you've been red pilled, it means you're educating yourself to the facts.
Right.
And
there's people like that out there all across social media that say, oh, I've been red pilled or whatever.
That's
they
right.
were one way and now they're this way because they've educated themselves and figured it out.
And one of the things that the left is doing is they're exposing themselves, right? Because obviously narratives that were banned on social media just 6 months ago have now been proven factual, such as the COVID origins or, obviously the collusion with tech industries. So, your boyfriend always posts, what's the difference between a conspiracy theorist and the truth? And the answer is about 6 months. And it's true and it's sad, but again, social media is a platform that's going to be extremely influential in the 2024 campaign. We're super excited to have President Trump back on all of these platforms. So obviously keep your eyes peeled for what he's going to say.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because you've seen a lot of articles written about the importance of social media and the influencers that we see lined up on both sides. You've got the super based, Trump, America First people, where you have people like Alex Ruszewicz, you have, Jack Posobiec, Brian Fournier, yourself, Don Jr. We had all these great people out there fighting the good fight, the battles, and then you have people on the other side. And what we're seeing also is kind of an interesting dynamic. You've got all the people, there's this whole primary battle going on now between it's like an interesting social media war between the people that, backing Trump and then the DeSantis influencers.
I mean, yeah, of course. And look, everybody's going to have their opinions. Not everybody has thrown their hats in the ring. We're hearing rumors about Tim Scott. We're hearing rumors about Larry Elder even, I heard the other day.
Yeah.
The more the merrier
Pompeo,
as far as I'm
Haley
concerned.
out there already.
Yes, Pence obviously is supposed to throw his hat in the ring. But, at the end of the day, as we just said earlier, Trump is really the only one who has delivered at the level of the President of the United States. You can be a great governor. Jeb Bush is proof that you can be a very popular Florida governor and still not have what it takes to win the nomination of your party. Mike Bloomberg is proof positive that you can be a very successful businessman and still not have what it takes to win the nomination of your party. There is one person who, however, has done both of that, and that is President Donald Trump.
That is absolutely correct. And it's interesting because you've actually seen this from the beginning, from working inside, the Trump organization and then working for the campaign, 2016, 2020, being in the administration, et cetera. So you've had a really interesting front row seat to just the whole different dynamic and range of ability of Donald Trump. I mean, look, I was the first person to support him at, Fox News. I tell people my support is not connected to Donald Trump Jr.
No.
It's to Donald Trump. I've been friends with him for 18 years. First one to say it on air, hey, this is going to be the guy. And guess what? I'm with you. Let as many people want to run as possible.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they're all just going to get spanked.
Which we can't wait to see again.
That's a technical term. Because we saw in 2016, I was at Fox covering him, and you're in the campaign, 16 highly qualified.
Formidable candidates.
Total, winners, like Rand Paul and those people, and Ted Cruz and everything.
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, Rubio running, and, he did Huckabee.
People that were
Ben
born
Carson.
to run for this opportunity, that moment.
Absolutely.
Destroyed.
Yeah, and
eliminated.
it's unbelievable. But then Ben Carson went on to go and work for him in the administration.
Absolutely.
We really had a
As
talented
did Rick
bench.
Perry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Rick Perry, another good point. He's had a lot of great people work for him in the administration. So,
Thank you.
we want to, yeah, you're looking at it. We want to make sure that we have someone that is ready to go on day one. We
Day
have
one.
no time for 2 years of training wheels in the White House. And you can say whatever you want. You could be a governor, you could be whatever. That isn't putting you ready day one to be president of the United States.
That's right. And Donald Trump has already said many times, including in his policy videos, that, it's not going to happen overnight, but obviously reversing all of the damage that the Biden administration has done over the past several years is priority number one. And he's going to assemble a regulations team. Their sole job, and they've already started, quite frankly, is to identify regulations that we are going to roll back through executive orders on day one. No different than we did when he was there the first time, when he rolled back over, 800 policies, I think, to everyone.
Yeah, I can't wait, because it's going to be like I said. Some people, Kimberly Guilfoyle says Trump's going to ride in there like Miley Cyrus, like a wrecking ball. Yep, yeah. I said that. But you know what? I want to see really quick before we have Libs of TikTok coming up, which is really cool. Also, the whole social media phenomena. If we have, I want to make sure people know. Not only is it important for you to go ahead and like this program and click the little thumbs up on here to keep us up at the top so other people can reach it. Follow my channel, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Follow Don Jr.'s channel and turn on notifications. But we have a chat here where we can actually hear back from you, see what you're saying, and see if we have any questions during the show that you might want us to be able to answer. Is there any on there?
We have a great question about the failures of liberal cities and what's the path forward to bringing back our
Okay, Lynne, you want to take that? Because we've seen this, whether it's Chicago and Detroit and all of these different places, what's going on?
That is a great question, and as a minority female, obviously one that really strikes home, because time and time again, we see actually politicians on both sides of the aisle, I'll be honest, make promises that they don't keep, every 2 to 4 years. And it's time that we start voting in the ways that matter. Whether it's school choice, whether it's crime, we need to start focusing on the actual policies. And one of the things that makes me sleep very well at night is knowing that Donald Trump actually instilled real policies that effectuated real change in those communities. Overseeing HUD with Secretary Carson, like I did.
Tell the beauty, what did you do when you did that? This is the difference, okay, between what a Republican and someone who works for President Trump in the administration does. In your job, what did you go do?
I moved into the largest, most dilapidated public housing authority in the country, which is the New York City Public Housing Authority, bringing attention to the plight, the lead, the mold, the no heat, the broken elevators, the rats.
You can hear the cockroaches.
You can hear the cockroaches at night. I showered in brown water every day. The President of the United States took notice, gave more funding to public housing than any president since 1997 because of it. Actually, instead of sitting back and letting the dysfunctional de Blasio administration continue to fail these communities, all the residents living in public housing, President Trump and Secretary Carson actually assigned federal oversight for the first time in public housing history, which set milestones that had to be met by certain dates. All elevators have to be replaced, all boilers have to be replaced, all pest extermination has to be met. The standards had to be risen because we were giving them $30 million a week. And the president wanted to know where that money was going. Nobody had ever asked that question before.
But President Trump cares. This is
exactly.
The thing. So when people lie and say President Trump hates poor people, President Trump's racist, no, he's not. He actually cares and is doing something about people throughout all different communities, all different socioeconomic backgrounds. That's what a president is supposed to do.
That's right. And one of the things I think is critical to actually building on the momentum we made in the inroads in 2016 and 2020 with minorities, with women, with Latinos, with LGBTQ community, is understanding your audience, framing things the way that they would want to listen and be heard and prioritize. For example, the Platinum Plan that the president has not had a chance to implement yet suggests $500 million for small minority businesses. When I go on urban radio, I might rephrase that to say President Trump wants to build 40 black Wall Streets in 40 different cities.
Exactly.
That's something that really hits home, that folks can understand. When you talk about school choice, and this is something I've been talking about with some great people, Lisa Watson and Melissa Tate, who is a great influencer. Instead of just having black voices for Trump on a stand, maybe you have just school choice. Maybe you have just criminal justice reform. Because a lot of people want to vote for Trump, but they don't want, their neighbors to know. We've seen this time and time again. And so if they can put a sign in their window that says school choice on one side and maybe Trump on the other, and they can display what makes them feel comfortable, I think that those are little things that are going to make a big difference.
He is for school choice, which is something
Absolutely.
that
Criminal
women
justice
support
reform.
tremendously,
Absolutely.
and minority women support, because everyone wants their child to go to a good school. That's a big issue with moms.
Yeah, and Trump raised over $70 billion in sort of investment growth for opportunity zones, which are 8,700 specific census tract impoverished community zones across this country. That wasn't money that could be misappropriated. It was money that actually went into those communities directly, gave the most money to historically black colleges and universities. Obviously created the First Step Act, which has released nonviolent criminals, and given them a second chance at life. These are things that no other modern day president, particularly a black one, whose name we shall not say, did. It blows my mind that people continue to put President Obama on a pedestal that he does not deserve, particularly members of my community.
All right. Well, I think there's been an awakening, and you're definitely part of it in getting that message out there. A very effective advocate, representative of the president.
Well, thank
so
you.
we really appreciate.
As are you.
Thank you, honey. Well, we really appreciate you being on the show, and as I've told the viewers before, we'll be having you back quite often to go over these issues. We've got another interview coming up, and then Lynn will ask you to come back on for when I go to locals.
Oh, we love
and we'll
locals.
do that together.
Okay,
all right?
great.
All right, Lynn, thank you. And as I said, we have much more to come, including my interview with Libs of TikTok and how conservatives can stand up for their children in the classroom. But first, I want to make sure to thank our sponsors who make this show possible. Sponsors like MyPillow, because the best pillow is getting even better. There's a brand new temperature regulating technology that will keep you comfortable throughout the night. No one likes a hot pillow. Am I right about this? And as Mike Lindell has been telling you, the patented interlocking fill allows you to adjust your MyPillow to your individual needs. For example, my pillow that I put together in shape and stuff looks different than Don Jr.'s pillow, okay? He likes to sleep with his kind of up like this. I like mine down like this. I'm not even kidding you. I'm like, give me my pillow back. So it's gonna give you the exact support that you need from the bed to your head, and it's going to stay that way throughout the night. Amen. And you can buy one, get one free with promo code Kimberly at mypillow.com, okay? Along with discounts on all your favorite MyPillow products. I love the Giza sheets, and I also do absolutely love the towels, the beach towels. So that's mypillow.com/Kimberly. Be sure and go over there and snag those pillows for you and your family. Makes a nice gift, actually, by the way. Now, our next interview is with one of the most influential voices in education, and she's committed to combating the woke lunacy taking over our schools. You may not know her name, but you certainly know her work. I recently sat down with Libs of TikTok founder Chaya Raichik to reveal new behind-the-scenes details of how she got the idea for the account, the efforts to silence and threaten her, even stunts by the media to dox her, her new kids book, and why she is so committed to protecting children. It's a great lesson in how one person can make a difference and how one person can shed light on nefarious behavior inside America's school. Take a look. Fantastic. And joining me now in studio, author of the new children's book, No More Secrets, the founder of Libs of TikTok, Haya Raychek. Great to be here with you.
Great to be here.
And congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Fantastic, yeah. So tell us, how did you come about deciding to, write a book and to do this account? Because people are very curious about you. There's kind of this very cool air of mystery around you and your life.
So I started my account about 2 years ago, and we can get into the specifics of how it started, but right now the account is really just a mission to protect children, to expose what the far left are doing to kids. And I've done so much to expose it. We've done incredible work. We've had a huge impact. And I decided it's time to not just keep exposing it, but to actually give parents a tool and kids a tool that they can use to combat it and to sort of get in front of it before their kids might be subject to the far left's agenda.
Yeah.
So that was the inspiration behind my book.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of saw what was going on in society and life and in classrooms and the struggles parents have been having, with their children being indoctrinated and whatnot. And you just said, I've had enough. I'm going to do something about this.
So my book basically, there's a massive grooming problem in our schools, right? And that's what I've been covering for about 2 years. And one of the first steps that groomers do is they cut out the parent and they isolate the child so that they can prey on them. So my book basically teaches children that to be able to spot that behavior. So if a trusted adult tells a kid, don't tell your parents this, we can keep this secret between us, I won't tell them, you won't tell them, a kid should know that is predatory and that's dangerous and harmful, and they should be able to go to their parents with that information. And hopefully I think we'll be able to save a lot of kids with this tool.
It's really interesting because you're able to sort of just delineate it and put it in very simple and specific terms, which I think is very helpful, because half of the time the trouble is trying to figure out the dialogue or what the conversation should be and a way to do it so that there's that good communication between and trust, between parents and their children, so they trust them to tell them what's going on. Because what I have found too is sometimes children get really worried about being in trouble in school. If they tell and people find out that they said something, how will their peers, etc., perceive it or perceive them, even if there's bad things going on in schools. They don't want to be the one who then your parent goes and complains to the school about it. I've seen this a lot. We've got 6 kids under 16. I hear all the stories, back from the classroom or what happened in the other kid's classroom, or they all talk and then communicate that way.
So my book actually is for parents as well, because parents have to be the ones to create that trusting relationship, and they have to create the open line of communication with their child. And my book just shows how important it is, because your child could have really important things to tell you, right? They could possibly be being groomed in school,
or abused physically, mentally, emotionally,
sexually. So these are things that are really important, and I think, I'm just tired of just reacting to what the left is doing, and I'm like, I am going on offense, and I'm creating a tool, and I'm going to start helping people.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. So I love your history, and you've been such a powerful voice and leader in this movement to protect children. I don't think there's any more noble cause than this. Now, starting off on the whole thing, do you remember the first video you posted and what the reaction was?
So my first content was, I don't know if I know the exact first video, but it was all COVID related. So there was a lot of videos of people singing about Fauci, Lord Fauci, the Fauci cult, and they were
that guy.
They had Fauci pillows and Fauci statues in their home, so I thought that was super cringy.
Horrific, right?
Yeah.
Actually frightening, especially given what we know now. But yeah, good choice, everybody out there.
Yeah, I wonder how those people are feeling now.
Yeah, that guy's a real winner, really good guy. Yeah.
So, and then there was people singing, about getting vaccinated, how excited they were. And this is all while Americans were losing their jobs for refusing to get vaccinated, right? So there was a lot of sort of the COVID stuff, the fear mongering, the plane videos. Every day there was a plane video, people getting kicked off for a 2-year-old not wearing a mask. I mean, it was so insane.
Insane.
And I took all that that content. I thought it was just entertaining. I thought it was funny. And I was like, let me start sharing this. And then, I mean, the videos just started exploding and getting shared a ton, and people started getting tons of followers. I still remember my first video that got 1 million views was this guy singing in like the Frozen song about how excited he was to get vaccinated. And then I'm on TikTok a lot, and then I sort of stumbled across the whole other side of TikTok, which was the activists, the groomers, people indoctrinating children, teachers, people in the medical industry, activists. So then that's really when Libs of TikTok became a mission to protect children and to expose that whole agenda.
When you saw you had a powerful voice and what you were choosing, what you were doing was really resonating with people, and they're like, wow, this is interesting. You see how many times it was getting shared and stuff. So I'm very impressed because it takes like 3 people to help me do an Instagram story. I was like, how do you do it? Dawn's very good at it. I was like, can you help me? Like, but you found what, a natural talent for it, or did you even have any like background to be able to put this stuff together? I was just very curious because you're talented in it.
So, thank you. So I have no background in media, in tech, in social media, in journalism, in politics. It started as like a fun hobby, and then, like I said, it turned into this mission. And I think I just found a natural knack for it. I mean, I felt like I found my calling, and it just stuck. Like, it just clicked, and I feel very grateful that I'm in this position now and I'm able to help people.
A lot of times I tell people too, find something you're passionate about, that you really enjoy, that you feel very strongly about, and there's a very good likelihood and chance that you'll be successful, doing it. And it's happened with you, but I think it is such a mission and a passion and a calling for you personally. So this has not been that easy. People say, oh wow, she's very famous and she does this stuff, and everyone knows her on TikTok and all of the above. But it comes with its challenges and sometimes scary and frightening situations. Tell us how that sort of evolved, where then you got so much attention that it almost became, disturbing.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think one of the weapons that the left uses to silence their critics or opponents is bullying, harassing, name-calling, slurs,
doxing,
all that stuff. And then when that doesn't work, they'll actually show up to your house to dox you, which is what happened to me. So, they couldn't stand having their own views and videos shared with the world, so they decided to come after me, to dox me. And I think, they can call me whatever they want. They can call me any names or insults or slurs that they want, but it's obviously never going to silence me. It's never going to stop because this mission is just too important. But I think the reason they do all that is to scare you into silence, to intimidate you.
Were you ever afraid? I know you're a very courageous person, God bless you, but were you ever nervous about it, or you felt worried for your safety? You had reporters going aggressively after you, like a Taylor Lorenz, where they were trying to target you, and what was that like? How did it make you feel, and have you kind of worked through it?
Yeah, I'll be honest. After I was doxxed by Taylor Lorenz from Washington Post, I was scared to leave my house. I mean, every time I left my house, I would look up and down the street. I didn't plan for this. Obviously, I never wanted to be famous. I didn't have a security set up, and it was scary. And then every time I had to give my name to someone, like in a store or customer service or something, I would always, my heart would skip a beat.
Get some anxiety.
Yeah, it's scary. But
because you never know how some of these people are so psychotic. You don't know how they may react to you in any given moment, and you're have to be on edge to be prepared for God knows what could happen.
Exactly. The left has shown that what they'll do to people that they disagree with. I mean, they've shown their violent nature. They will, they'll come to your house. I've had a couple people come to my house, so it's scary. Because they really want me silenced, and I think they would do anything to achieve that.
And there was an incident one time you said with pizza with Domino's or something.
So someone had Domino's deliver a pizza to one of my relatives' homes with a really nasty note, and I think it was also just a tactic to try to scare me, and I think that's really what they what they're hoping to achieve, right? To scare you into silence. And it's not just me. They play this with everyone.
Because they want you to retreat.
Exactly.
They want you to be worried and be put sort of, off kilter where you're not sure what's going to happen. I mean, come on, think about it. Normal people, can sit there and get an Uber, can order some food, Domino's, Chipotle, whatever, and may not worry about, oh, is somebody trying to poison my food? Is somebody going to attack me if I'm getting a car service, or whatever, or going out on subways or in the streets, that type of thing. That's the type of stuff that we have to think about and, seriously, and then we have children too, so it's tough, but, people don't think like that. I think sometimes the anonymity of social media, it really breeds like bullies and a viciousness in people where they can hide behind anonymity and the comments that they write or the things they try to do. It's so disturbing to me because it just suggests a lack of morality and depravity that can really come into play when it comes to politics and stuff like that. But it's so bizarre to me that you could be this controversial person when all you're trying to do is fight to protect children.
So most of the stuff that I talk about, especially the content of my book, these are things that up until a couple of years ago, everybody agreed on, right? Parents are the best advocate for their child. Parents know their child the best. Parents have their child's best interest at heart. And children shouldn't be encouraged to keep secrets, not just any secret, but these are huge secrets. I mean, they're having teachers transition kids behind their parents' backs. And these are things that we should all agree on. It's not really political. And giving kids porn in school, which is something I talk about a lot, I don't know why that's political. And I feel like we should all, as Americans, agree that we need to protect children. And it's really sad that it's become so partisan when it really shouldn't be. And
it should be a bipartisan issue, the protection of children.
Exactly.
And respecting the family unit and, children being able to talk to their parents. How did this happen? To me, it seems like almost overnight in some ways because it became so egregious and so insane, some of the things that, we're seeing and hearing about, especially with trying to get children to transition.
So I think it's been going on for quite a few years. And it just, I think the past few years, it just became much easier to expose it, especially over COVID, because all of a sudden, every parent, they had their child's classroom in their living room, so they were finally seeing what their kids were learning.
What a great point.
What their teachers, looked like and what they were telling the kids, and parents were just absolutely shocked.
Because you can overhear it. It's so true.
Exactly.
Because you walk into a room, your child's in their classroom, you can hear all the other students, you can see and hear the teacher, and you're like, whoa, wait a second.
What the heck is my kid learning at school? So parents were shocked. And at the same time, TikTok really became big in America, I think at the beginning of COVID, because that's when, people were home, people were bored, and people just, I guess, found a lot of people became famous, TikTok famous, over COVID. And so I think those two things combined, and then me coming in and sort of tapping into that, just really blew up this whole agenda of what the left is doing and how they plan to come for our kids. But I think it's probably been going on. It's been going on for a couple of years before that. But now that it's all out in the open, it's much easier to combat, right? We're seeing a ton of legislation passed across the country to ban adult sexual entertainment for kids, to ban surgeries for children, gender surgeries, to clean up the schools, really, to remove gender ideology. So I'm really humbled that I got to have a part in that, in helping to expose it, so that action is taken.
And part 2 of that interview is just ahead, but I want to make sure I thank another wonderful sponsor, Goldco. Diversification is more important than ever, and gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. You can roll over your 401k or your IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings tax and penalty free. Let's be honest, we all see another economic storm brewing, and I want you to be prepared. Let's all of us be prepared. So from precious metals, IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans diversify and protect their retirement savings. So go to kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And now before we continue with my sit down with the founder of Libs of TikTok, recently she actually crossed paths with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And here's how that went. Take a look.
Dropped off an ethics complaint at AOC's office, and unfortunately she wasn't there. So we left, and then I was walking through the Capitol, and guess who I bumped into? AOC herself. I just delivered an ethics complaint to your office because you lied about me in a committee hearing.
Oh, hi. Yeah, no,
so
actually,
I never inspired a bump for
No,
it,
you're
and I'm
actually
awesome for myself.
super transphobic, and I never want to share space with you. Thank you.
It's pretty amazing, right? Ask yourself, why do so many on the left feel so threatened by her work and her commitment to standing up for transparency inside the classroom? In part 2 of my interview, we cover her new kids' book and all the left-wing rage directed her way. Take a listen. They're trafficking in children, you know, in terms of trying to get them, to recruit them, to transition them, to separate them from their mother and father, to sow, you know, distrust where then the child doesn't want to communicate or develops a stronger bond with somebody who's grooming the child versus, you know, the parents at home. Like it's really scary, I think. So what is some of your best advice for parents, besides obviously your amazing book here as a kind of a blueprint for protection?
So, I mean, what I always say is get your kids out of public schools. That's the first step. And I know most Americans can't do that. It's really tough. And I think, I mean, we have a system in place, right? We have an education system, and we need to fix that because not everyone can homeschool their kids. And the way to fix it is to pressure the schools and to keep exposing what's happening in the schools. Mm-hmm. So, you know, show up to school board meetings, go through the library where you'll probably find pornographic books, go through, demand to see the curriculums, like just be really on top of what your kid is learning. And I think that we are going to we're going to fix the education system. I mean, we have to. And we've been and we saw in the midterms that a lot of school boards flipped red. Because, you know, parents are really fed up with all of the indoctrination and grooming going on in schools. So it just has to be.
Too, I think the exposure that you've given, the light that you've shone on this issue, is making parents even pay more attention and get more involved and proactive by joining school boards and talking about, finding out what's going on in the classroom and getting that out there, you know what I mean, to release that information. Because I know you're a great aggregator, you're getting all this stuff coming in. It's like it's kind of an army of parents out there fighting for kids, and they're recording stuff, they're showing up to meetings, they're recording the school board meetings, you're getting to hear these people try to defend their behavior and what's going on in their schools. So it's interesting how this is all kind of, you know, coalesced. And then you decided to write the book, because you thought this was the best way to actually give them like a tool.
Yeah. So parents should be having those conversations with their children. You know, if you have to send your kids to public schools, then you need to have that open relationship, because I mean, it's really sad to say, but chances are your kid's school has gender ideology embedded into the curriculum. And I really feel for parents who, you know, they have to send their kids to public school, and the schools all have this stuff. But again, the way for parents to keep their kids safe is to have those conversations with their kid, you know, sort of like what my book teaches, and then to also just expose what's happening in the school. So, you know, because the reality is that the far left's views of what they're doing to kids, it's completely indefensible. So when you show them what they're doing, they can't justify it, right? So we have parents showing up to school board meetings reading like the porn books, And the school board members are like, oh, stop, it's too inappropriate.
Yeah, well, why is
And
it
it's
there?
like, and these are all adults, and so it's indefensible. You can't defend it. So just, keep exposing it, keep calling it out, and just be really vigilant.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your book. Take us through it here, and kind of the process of how you wrote it, and it's got some beautiful illustrations in there as well.
So we partnered with Brave Books. They're really great. They have this mission to put out really good kids content because the far left has taken over basically every single institution. I mean, Disney, Hollywood. There's no kids content anymore that's safe. So shout out to Brave. They're really great. My book is basically about a little girl who goes to school and the teacher's telling her to keep secrets from her parents, and she feels very wrong about this. In the end, she opened up to her parents, and it ended up saving her because the teacher was really a predator. So it's something that we see all too often. So you can get it on lottbook.com or Amazon.
All right, let's open it up here and tell me what's one of your favorite parts here for parents.
So
it's a beautiful book, and the artwork is excellent.
Yeah, so shout out to Brave for that. They have excellent illustrations. So here, the teacher's trying to convince all the kids to eat candy. And this little girl says, excuse me, I'd like candy, but my parents told me I shouldn't eat too much candy at once. So the teacher shouts, don't worry, it'll be fine. You should eat as much candy as you want. Your parents will never know. My class is a safe space. So that's one thing. And then the story.
And so you've got sort of the motif of the big bad wolf, or what is that?
Exactly. It's a big bad wolf reimagined. Yeah. In fact, the teacher.
But that's I think it's kind of cool because kids can relate and, know the character.
Exactly. I don't want to give too much away, but in the end, the teacher was really a wolf dressed up as a sheep.
Right.
And he was there to prey on these young lambs who were just, young school children. So I think it's a really important message, and it's different than stranger danger, right? Because I've seen a lot of people compare it to that. Stranger danger is very easy to explain to your kids, I think, and that's an old concept. It's something that's been around, but what my book is, it's about trusted adults. So it's about like teachers, doctors, counselors, even a relative, like an aunt or a cousin, and I don't think there's any books like this that teach kids that even trusted adults could prey on you. So to really look out for that and to be able to spot that predatory behavior.
It's so fascinating because you think like normally children, okay, I'm going to go see my friends, I'm going to go to my classroom, my teacher, blah blah blah, but they have to change their mindset. It's not like that anymore.
No.
You really have to be very careful and vigilant and, in a weird way, a little bit, worry to say, okay, what's going on in the classroom? Can I trust this teacher or this coach or instructor or whatever? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel sad for kids because I feel like they have to be so hyper vigilant these days.
Yeah, because I mean, the left is coming from every single angle, just to sexualize them, to confuse them about their identity, to tear down childhood innocence. But I'm here. I'm gonna stand in their way as best as I can.
Yeah, and they want to indoctrinate them for what they think, for their political beliefs. It's just it's sickening to see how they just want to just shape them and mold them into something that they personally have in their like depraved life. And children are so innocent. I mean, gosh, can you imagine? It's like apple for the teacher. Not anymore. Keep an eye on, teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, for real,
Yeah.
and you worry, and that's why you want to talk. Like, it's hard too. Like, I have a 16-year-old, and he goes to, school, and then he was in track and football and da-da-da, and the whole week can go by real quick. By the time they get home from those things, it's later. It's like, but you have to make those sort of appointments with your children, even as they get older, because you don't know who they're getting exposed to online as well.
Yeah. There are a lot of activists online, specifically TikTok, that really target children to sexualize them and possibly groom them. So that's something that I seek to expose as well. I mean, I think TikTok is the Chinese. I mean, it's obviously Chinese spyware. We know that, and I think it's a weapon from China to destroy us, because that's what it's doing.
So this is interesting because I don't have TikTok on my phone. Okay, I know my brother likes it, so he'll send me little TikTok stuff, and there's some brilliant stuff on there. But we're getting all this information about it being a spy tool, and an effective one from China. President Trump had his strong opinions on that, and Joe Biden seemed to be in love with him, but now he's like circling, I guess, and dialing it back, saying we shouldn't have it on government devices. But you obviously became very famous on there. How do you reconcile that? How does that work with you? Because I get it, like it's an effective tool for you to protect children, but at the same time, it's something that has been weaponized.
Yeah, so I actually was banned from TikTok like a week after I opened my account. So I don't even have a TikTok account
Anymore. You don't?
No.
Not even under a different name?
I have a burner to get to content. The Chinese
former prosecutor.
Burner TikTok. Yeah, I mean, I don't like that I have TikTok on my phone just because of all the information that was coming out. But I think, I'm taking one for the team.
Right, I know. But like, how did you get banned? You're actually exposing criminal activity.
I think TikTok owes me a lot of money for the brand awareness that I gave them.
Right.
And then they go and ban me. So, yeah, I don't know. It's being banned on government devices in a couple of states. It might be banned eventually, which I think would be great. I have so much content and there's so many other sites, so I'm not worried personally about my brand. The left is still going to do everything that they're still doing. They're just going to do it on other platforms. So
don't reveal any burner sites because the work you do is too important. But where else can people hear from you, see your work, etc.?
So we have a Substack, libsoftiktok.com, which is where we do actually like longer form articles and things that require a little bit more research. So these are usually in a school setting where we expose some really insane stories. And then our book obviously is at lottbook.com, and then we're Libs of TikTok on all social media. On all social media. Okay, great. So, obviously you're a force, a powerful woman, which I love, so strong and smart and fearless. What are the next steps for you? You know what? People are asking me, are you going to make a whole line of books? It's possible. I think the kids' entertainment and books that we have out there are just really awful. So I think we need to flood the market with good kids' books. So possibly that. I think I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. I would love to see, what I always tell people is the left wants me silenced so bad, right? And I say, the fastest way to silence me is to stop giving me material, because I'm just resharing what they themselves are saying.
That's what you're doing.
So what's next for me, I'm going to try to eradicate gender ideology from all public schools, ban gender care across the U.S., ban sexual adult-themed entertainment for kids. And when all that happens, my mission will be done. I'll shut down my account. And it would be great. I don't expect it to happen soon.
I don't think that. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, and then just if I may, because you're a young woman and you've done so many incredible things already with your life, which I love the example too, which is look at the difference that one person can make when they put their mind to something and commit and are passionate about a cause. What about for you, for your personal life?
So whenever I think about that idea, I think about my grandfather. So he was in 1940. He was a religious Jew in Poland, and he never thought he would survive the Holocaust, and then he ended up meeting with a Japanese diplomat. His name was Sugihara, and anyways, this Japanese diplomat they say he saved between 2,500 and 6,000 Jews.
Wow.
And today there are 100,000 people alive as descendants from those people he saved.
That's incredible.
And I always think of that story. It's very personal to me, obviously. And it just shows, and obviously I'm not on that level, not anywhere close, but how one person can make such a huge difference. I mean, we're talking about 100,000 people, and I'm one of them.
Yes.
And I think what I've done is shown exactly that. I had no experience in any of this. I saw a problem. I decided to do something about it, and I made such a huge difference. And every single person who's watching this can also do that. If you see something,
Absolutely.
speak up, speak out, and we're going to take back our country.
I'm super excited, and I like our odds with you
Thank you.
doing it for
we
us.
We have good people on our side.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's fantastic because you devote your life to doing this. So I think you have honored your family very well, and I can understand this now from that story. Thank you for sharing it, because it's where you get your strength and able to stand for other people. So that's wonderful. God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
I can tell you what a pleasure. Go out there and get her book. All right, and it's super cute. It's great inside. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's very well written, and you do a lot with just a children's book like this. It can be transformative, and you can save children.
I think it will save a lot of children.
I really do believe that. All right, hi, Rachel. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Fascinating woman, and again, shows the difference, what one person can do when they put their mind to it. Let's save our schools. And in closing tonight, at the center of the America First movement is putting working families first and putting choice in education at the center of the Make America Great Again agenda. It's what separates MAGA from the left. Standing for parents and for students and not surrendering to the political agenda of the unions. Pushing to reopen schools while Democrats wanted them shut. Demanding that parents actually know what their kids are being taught, and giving families choice in where their children go to school. As conservatives, we can never cede control of our schools to the left, and it's why education will continue to be a major focus of this show. Here on Rumble, where we reject the false narrative and always seek the truth. Thanks for being with us today, and please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. That means download the app on your phone, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, KG for free, and if you like this episode, toss us a like. We love it, all right? And turn on notifications, download this app, like I said, and tell all your friends, tell your grandma, tell your aunt, tell your uncle, so they know exactly where to find us. And also be sure to follow me across all platforms, Twitter, Truth Social, Facebook, and Instagram. And hop on over to Locals at kimberly.locals.com. Kimberly.locals.com for a live Q&A. I'll be joined by Senior Advisor to the 45th President, Lynne Patton, and we'd love to have a little chat with you. So ask us a couple of questions. We look forward to seeing you in a couple moments. You all have a wonderful and blessed evening. We'll see you right here on Monday.